Aida Kamišalić Latifić, State Secretary in the Ministry of Digital Transformation. While we wait for panelists to join us in full, looking for inspiration that Slovenia is an open, inclusive country which gathers all the talents from the region, Europe and all the world. Dr. Aida Kamišalić Latifić, the moderator, is surely one of the role models. She came to Slovenia from her native Bosnia and Herzegovina as a war refugee. As teenager, was a brilliant student and completed her studies at the University of Maribor, Slovenia's second largest city, at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. By now, Mrs. Kamišalić Latifić has had almost 20 years of experience in research, teaching and project work. Her research interests include data technologies, big data, blockchain technology and medical informatics. In 2020, she was awarded the title of the Engineer of the Year in Slovenia. So, Dr. Kamišalić Latifić, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this great introduction. Thank you everyone for joining me at this ministerial session. Welcome. This session on regional approach to advance ethical governance of AI. During this panel, we will explore the significance and importance of regional alliances in navigating the ethical landscape of AI. Collaboration on regional level enables countries to identify common features and design targeted solutions. It also brings the possibility to form alliances and jointly address challenges and opportunities unique to the region. Developments on this level also allow for regional convergence on AI legislation, such as EU AI Act, African Union AI Continental Strategy, and the Guide on AI Governance and Ethics from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. For effective implementation of the UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, UNESCO also relies on regional policy platforms where countries with similar conditions can exchange experiences and advance implementation. This session brings us together to analyze and discuss the diverse AI regulatory approaches regionally and how ethical principles can be streamlined across various national regulations and frameworks. To discuss this important aspect in this session, we have representatives from Chile, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Denmark, Romania, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia, and Mozambique. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me. First, I would like to start with Aisen Etcheverry, Minister. Thank you. Sometimes I will probably need help just to locate you. Thank you. Minister of Science, Technology, Knowledge, and Innovation from Chile. We can see multiple processes in place to create regional convergence. The AI Act, I already mentioned, Council of Europe's draft convention, ASEAN Digital Strategy 2025, and so on. So I'm interested in hearing from you, from your experiences. What are your experiences with these regional processes? And in particular, how important this are for countries with similar levels of development?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation and for making me part of this panel. As was mentioned in the previous panel, right? In 2023, as part of the process of the implementation of the RAM recommendation, the RAM and the UNESCO recommendation, we realized that there was a common interest among countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And therefore, there was a good opportunity for collaboration. However, this region is one that has ministers of science and technology that are fairly recent. And therefore, starting a collaboration within the region was something that has never been done before in these areas. If you look at how we collaborate in science and technology in Latin America, it's mostly from our countries to the US or to Europe, but collaboration among countries is something that is just starting. So we organized the meeting sort of as a pilot. We didn't know what was going to come out of the meeting. We got together in Santiago in October last year. It was the first time ministers of science, technology, and alike got to meet. And the results were, well, in my opinion, amazing. Not only because we managed to have a very honest conversation on what our concerns were, but also because you realize that we have a common approach from a cultural perspective to what the challenges are. When we think about what are the risks and the risks associated to artificial intelligence, for example, we all acknowledge that big part of the discrimination that can come with this technology is not only on the algorithms and how they're built, but also, and most importantly, I would say for our region, in the way we participate in the design and the deployment, right? If we're not able to be a part of the design and the deployment of artificial intelligence, then there is a first discrimination that happens where our countries, our cultures, our languages, our territories are not represented in the development of this tool. And the same when we look at it locally, right? We have large amounts of our population and our territories that have not been digitalized, that are not feeding with data, and therefore are being made completely invisible to the development of technology. And once you start looking at the development of AI from this perspective, the words inclusiveness and non-discrimination, they get a different content, right? There's a new definition that comes from the experience of countries that are experiencing the development of the technology in the same way. So once you get to that point, which is where we are at, I believe, it is possible to build common positions to the international discussion. And that's the next step, right? How we can get from sharing the experience to actually creating common positions that can feed and can nurture the international discussion that we're having. So this perspective and this culture and this language is also represented not only in regulation, but I would say most importantly, in the development and the application and deployment of artificial intelligence for the benefit of society. So even though we're the newest and the different regions have already governances in place that have been working for a long time and have a very strong structure, what I see from Latin America and the Caribbean is a lot of enthusiasm and a real need to advance in this direction. So I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot from us in the next couple of months.
Thank you. Next, I would like to address some of European representatives here. First, Mrs. Angeline van Dijk, Inspector General, the Dutch Authority for Digital Infrastructure. Then Mrs. Anne-Marie Engtoft Meldgaard, Tech Ambassador from Denmark. Mr. Marek Havrda, Deputy Minister for European Affairs from Czech Republic. And online, we have Mr. Dragoș Tudorache, Member of European Parliament, Chair of the Special Committee on Artificial Intelligence in the Digital Age from Romania. So for all four of you, I guess that we all share the same enthusiasm about the AI Act. And congratulations to everyone, also all other present here, for all the efforts that have been made in the past years. So it's a huge milestone. Now it's really important that we speed up the process of implementation and enforcement. So I'm interested in hearing how can different initiatives help scale up and speed up this process. So maybe I would like to start with you, Angeline.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. The Dutch Digital Infrastructure Authority, I'm the Inspector General of it, and I look from a perspective of supervising the AI. But we work together with UNESCO on a project that's funded by the European Commission, DG Reform. And it's about supervising the best practices of AI. And the outcome of this project will help European competent authorities to enhance the capacities and increase their knowledge on supervising AI. And that's very important because as a supervisor, I know that nobody exactly knows how to supervise an AI. What are the risks that are accepted? What is a good audit? What are the costs? How do you measure? And we only can learn that if we create a learning environment and just by doing it. So that is also important to unite this also in Europe with this project. It's extremely important for us. So there are new risks, new questions to be answered. We need new experiences, good legislation, guide rails like the AI Act. And what I also know for sure is there are no benefits for AI if you don't have a good digital infrastructure. It all starts with that. And you also cannot isolate an AI. It's integrated. You have to know the context and the environment of it and understand that quite well, because it's in a platform, it's in networks, it's in devices, it's in cloud services. So we have to understand with each other the whole system. So that's also important to know and to learn from each other to understand that system. And when I look to the development of AI, I think it's similar like the developments we had in the telecom sector. The technical standards worldwide now we have for 3, 4 or 5G. You can bring your own device through the whole world and still be connected. And that will also be hard in the beginning, and we managed to do it. Now we have AI, and I'm very glad with the support of UNESCO and the European working stream together to try to fix this and give access to all of us. So that's the start.
Thank you.
Then I give the phone. Yeah, you have one.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I'm the Danish Tech Ambassador. On this question of speed and scale, I think at first is to recognize that legislation is almost always behind of technology, and then come enforcement and implementation. Technology will happen regardless of whether we legislate and enforce or not. So now is a good time, I think, to think about how do we have an implementation framework that not only fits the technology landscape of today, but also of tomorrow. And I want to point on 3 things I think is important. One, it has to be easy to understand. I think that the EU has done a quite good job with the AI Act, but having frameworks, legislation, text fundamentally that most laymen can understand, that is easy to take into your job and know, do I actually enforce this in a meaningful way or not, is the first step. And ensuring alignment across whether it's AI Act, G7, G20, TTC, OECD, UNESCO ethical principles, language, and easy to understand frameworks that are aligned. The second one is around talent and expertise. We have wonderful bureaucrats, and they've been doing an extraordinary work for many years, but they're not necessarily the best at advanced AI understanding. So we need to make sure that the AI wizards come a little bit closer, and that this question around sort of serving your country or serving your region, and maybe even allowing from some sort of exchange between public sector and private sector to make sure that we get the adequate expertise to help us enforcing these rules. And then finally, I'm a diplomat, and the diplomat's job is fundamentally to make sure that we avoid wars, and if it's too late, try to minimize the conflict. When it comes to a future that is so tainted by technology, I think that the questions whether we're going to have more prosperity, peace, security, opportunities for more, or the opposite, is going to come down to the question of how do we regulate and govern technologies? Are they inclusive? Do they benefit the more and not the few? And so to this question, the most important around implementation is to make sure we don't only do it for us. Great AI implementation in the EU is great. I'm a European citizen, that's wonderful, but it won't necessarily be the most important thing for the rest of the world. So making sure the alignment, and I think UNESCO is so well suited, and we see a lot of collaboration in this already. And then just in conclusion, I would advocate for more confidence in this space. The bull might be digital, but we've done the rodeo before. We've known how to enforce very challenging legislation. And so this time around, I think we have all the right measures to do it again. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Havrda?
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. First, allow me to express my gratitude to UNESCO and to Slovenian hosts for this excellent event and the opportunity to exchange views at the global level. As someone who helped to launch the first forum, which took place in Prague during our presidency of the EU, it is really a great pleasure to see how the forum is growing, how it develops and thrives. Well, adoption of the European Union AI Act will be an important milestone, but it's just the beginning. And as already mentioned, clearly important will be how we implement it and enforce the Act. The Act builds on risk-based approach, with risk management systems being at the heart of that approach. And first area I would like to talk about in terms of the potential cooperation between UNESCO, the EU member states, and the support by DG Reform is exactly on that. Helping build a monitoring system which would help us not only to monitor and analyze incidents, but as well getting better understanding of the impacts of AI on human rights, on democracy, on society in general is crucial. So building these approaches, building these metrics could be among the chief areas of the cooperation. It could as well help us to build metrics which would be standardized and then used, among other things, in the sandboxes which we are going to build. So the regulatory sandbox is kind of a special environment. Because without that, we will not understand what the impacts are, so we will not be able to build the risk management and risk mitigation systems. As well, these metrics could help us to establish, these metrics developed in this international cooperation manner could help us to start developing globally acceptable metrics, which could eventually be kind of a starting point of monitoring the impacts globally of AI systems, and this will be an evolving game. So we need kind of put in place continuous monitoring of the impacts. The second area relates to innovation, and we need to make sure that by implementing the AI Act, we will not cause the situation where the firms, where the companies are punished and penalized for being ethical, for acting ethically. So the other area of the cooperation could be on putting together tools which would effectively and efficiently support companies to actually deal with the AI Act, to be able to implement it on the ground in their everyday practice. Because without that, it will be very difficult for them to bring in life the new and very, very demanding regulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to ask Mr. Dragoš Tudorache, who is online with us, to say a few words on this topic. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon to all. Many thanks to UNESCO and to the Slovenian government for inviting me, and apologies for not being able to be with you there, but we have a plenary session this week in Strasbourg, so duty called. On speed and scale of implementation, first, I think it's important to say that we are right now almost at the end of the normative journey, which certainly hasn't been an easy one. It started pretty much 4 years ago with the initial announcement from the Commission that there will be an AI Act, pretty much putting a placeholder there where no other jurisdictions around the world had dared at the time to think that there is worth putting a normative placeholder in place. And then, as one of the lead negotiators on behalf of the European Parliament, I can testify that it has not been at all an easy journey. Since last week, we have the vote in the Council. Now we are awaiting still for the final vote in Parliament, but I anticipate that that will take place without any further tensions or anxiety by the end of March, early April at the latest. What happens next? I think that's the key question. Now, again, that the normative journey is over and the AI Act will see the light of day in early spring. Of course, now the ball moves in the corner of implementation, and this is where, from my point of view, and I'm sure hearing the other speakers, this is where the biggest challenge will be. And I see this on 3 levels. First of all, it is the national level in the EU, because a lot of the implementation, a lot of the competences in terms of rolling out the application of the AI Act will reside with the national regulators, which the member states first and foremost will have to put in place. Will have to either choose existing authorities that will also be taking on this responsibility of implementing the AI Act, or create new entities for that. They will have 24 months to do it. This is the time frame for when the AI Act will, it has a phased approach, but the whole bulk of the norms in the Act will take effect 24 months from adoption. So that will be the time frame that member states have at their disposal to do what they have to do to be ready for implementation. And it's not only mounting up the right talent, the right cultural and administrative rules that will be necessary to instill the right spirit in the authorities that will be playing with the AI Act, but it's also how they will roll out. I think someone mentioned already the sandboxes, those enablers that are so key and that we have deliberately inserted in the AI Act to help innovation, to encourage innovation, to encourage creativity, because AI has, and we have to start from that point, a huge potential. It can bring enormous benefits in our societies and economies, but it will be up to the regulators, mostly at national level, because this is where the high risks will be assessed. This is where, again, most of the interaction between the developers, the deployers, and the regulator will take place. And again, how they will be understanding their role, how they will be finding the right talent to interact with those wizards. I think someone mentioned the word wizards, with those AI wizards out there who will be coming and knocking at the door of Sandbox or knocking at the door of the national regulator to see whether they have made the right assumptions in assessing themselves to be high risk or low risk, whether they've done the right testing, whether they've done the right transparency and explainability exercises, so on and so forth. So that's the first challenge in implementation. The second one is at European level, where the AI office will have to be set up. It will start in spring and will roll out also rather quickly. And then the third, because I don't want to take too much time, and then the third challenge will be, of course, the global one. We have a duty to seek global interoperability of the different normative landscapes that we will have, either national or regional or multi-national level, because again, I think by now everyone understands that having a global governance in place, i.e. an interoperability between the different frameworks that will exist, is fundamental for how we will be referring to the interaction between this technology and the future of our societies and economies over the next decade.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to, we have heard a bit of a European perspective. Now I would like to go to Asian perspective. Here we have representatives, Mr. Chai Wutiviwachai, Executive Director of the National Electronics and Computer Technology Center from Thailand. Mr. Nezar Patria, Vice Minister of Communication and Informatics from Indonesia. Mr. Makara, Khov, Secretary of State, Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, Cambodia. And Mr. Keovisouk Solaphom, Deputy Minister of Ministry of Post and Telecommunication Law. So what I'm interested from your point of view to bring us, how can ASEAN as a forum support the efforts of Asian countries to make AI governance work, and perhaps even branch out to non-ASEAN members of the region. So maybe we can start with you, Mr. Chai.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, UNESCO and Slovenia for inviting me to this forum. I just would like to give a little bit about what we are doing in Thailand. We developed the Thailand National AI Strategies and action plans for 5 years, now running for 2 years already. This is since 2022, and we have a National AI Committee chaired by Prime Minister himself, and was assigned to drive this plan. But according to the survey, you know that we have a good surveys last year from about 500 organizations, including public and private. We see only 15%, 15% of organizations adopting AI in their use. This is situations in Thailand. Actually, this plan and this strategy, therefore, trying to fill up the gaps of AI ecosystem rather than to trying to control the use of AI. So we would like to build up the infrastructures, human capital, research, innovation, and promotion, and not forget to include the ethicals and regulations in the strategy as well. For last year, we have the Thailand AI Ethics Guideline, which was accepted by the cabinet to promote countrywide after the starting of the plan. And moreover, last year, we have an agency of electronics transaction development under the Ministry of Digital Economy, establishing AI Governance Clinic, AIGC, as a public center for consultation on AI governance. And then we launched a program called Thailand AI Readiness Index to assess the advancement of AI ecosystem in Thailand. We expect to continue this index activity every year to ensure the success of strategy driving. And in the regional level, as you invite many ASEAN members here, the ASEAN Digital Minister meeting, ADG Min, has just welcomed the ASEAN Guides on AI Governance and Ethics, and set up a new working group on AI governance just 2 days ago in Singapore. This guide described recommendations in several levels, general principles, national levels, and also regional level recommendations, and trying to setting up a regional working groups adapting the guides of generative AI specifically. This is some example of the activities. But these AI principles or guidelines mainly give a high-level ethical concerns, you know. We are expecting that UNESCO will come up and see the practice of the interpreting the AI principle into the practical recommendations that could be our next step.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Khov?
Yes. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to Slovenian government and UNESCO for organizing this workshop. Well, let me start in short, but by informing what have been done in Cambodia. Actually, the Cambodian, we are adopting the Digital Economy and Society Policy Framework 2021 and to 2035. It means that Cambodia is on the journey to do the digital transformation toward digital economy and society in 2035. So what we see, the AI is a digital tool, a key digital tool in the digital transformation for us. So as we already recognize that AI technology in nature is the technology that evolves very fast and can support for innovation, but at the meantime can create negative impact to the world civilization, but not only to Cambodian nation. In this regard, we are happy that UNESCO effort has been prepared a lot of a number of documents, in particular the governance model on AI with ethics, and at the same time in our region, that in Asian region, that during the meeting of Asian Digital Minister last week, that we have adopted the AI framework in both governance and ethics. And within this framework, the most beautiful thing is that we are going to establish a working group under the Asian umbrella. I think that in this regard, all Asian countries can contribute through the development of the AI and also mitigate all the risks from the application of the AI in the region. In Cambodia's side, we have our problem as well that need to be addressed, in particular the identified gap. So in this situation, we have the digital gap that need to be addressed. At the same time, the digital gap is fueled by the AI introduction to Cambodia as well. It means that when the time we are talking, the gap is increasing. So we are on the situation that on the one hand, we need to address the connectivity gap, and at the same time, we need to be able to embrace AI for our citizens as well. And we see that we have a number of efforts that need to be conducted, of course, with the guideline document that we got from UNESCO and as well as under the framework in Asian region. And we can use the measurement metric as well. If we have a unique measurement metric across the nation around the world, it's very good for us as well in order to avoid the misunderstanding and miscommunication in terms of measurement, development, and risk mitigation for that. So another thing is that we are focusing on the concrete capacity building of our national talent. Is very important for us to address all the remaining issues. But at the same time, we need to see the efficient enforcement mechanism. That very, very important. Without enforcement mechanism, we cannot figure out how the ethic aspect of the AI can be achieved. That the goal that we have that have been set. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Solaphom, please.
Thank you very much to the UNESCO and the Republic of Slovenia to be the host of this important event. As my colleagues have mentioned about the ASEAN guidelines for AI governance and ethics proposed by Singapore, I would like to add something that this guideline have reference and comply with UNESCO recommendation of AI ethics, which we found is very useful documents that have been very comprehensive and detailed information on AI matter. They're also using the EU AI Act as reference as well. Since the ASEAN does not have the authority to pass any laws, member states have the responsibility to implement the guide and to formulate their own policies regarding AI. Laos will be the host for ASEAN Summit this year. The guideline will be reported to the head of states during the meeting. In case of Laos, we also in the process of formulation the nation AI strategy, aiming to narrow the development gap. This is a part of our digital transformation plan, which is shared by our Prime Minister. Based on the recent assessment of government AI readiness, in ASEAN countries, we have different level of development. For example, Singapore in the top 10 in the world. But in our ASEAN countries, some below 50, but our country Laos around 135. There are some priority challenges that Laos needs to be overcome, such as accompanying the transformation, as AI is both a technological and social innovation. It brings with it all the benefits and complexities that can completely transform the society, including the public sector. Data ecosystem. In Laos, the lack of open access to data has been noticed as a major obstacle for the data revolution. Many local contents in our language is difficult for the machine to understand. Technological and infrastructure. There is a lack of technological adoption and infrastructure development for the adoption of AI technologies in Laos. Technologies such as big data, machine learning, deep learning, and decision making are not widely used, not widely available over there. However, we have good news that the UNESCO has expressed their desire to assist Laos in formulation of this strategy. We also need widely cooperation in the global level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, from this round from Asian countries, I would like to ask Mr. Nezar Patria to...
Thank you. Thank you for UNESCO and Slovenia for hosting this very prestigious global forum on AI. For Indonesia, ASEAN plays pivotal roles in strengthening communication and exchange of insights for its members for many aspects, including AI implementations. And I think today in the regions, AI has become a most popular word in Singapore, in Thailand, in Indonesia as well. Many workshops, many seminars running in this last 6 months, I think, very intensive meetings amongst the ASEAN members to discuss this AI. And one of the outcome of the intensive exposure on AI was the recent endorsement of ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics during ASEAN Digital Minister meeting last 2 weeks, I think. And the meeting also reflects how important is AI for the region, and all the members of ASEAN show their concerns about sharing basic values that can adopted by respective countries into the practice how to regulate this AI. So we agree for several key principles such as transparency, fairness, security, reliability, humanity, data protection, accountability, and integrity, which align with Indonesia's commitment as well to foster inclusivity and closing the digital divide that have mentioned by colleagues from Cambodia and Thailand as well. And of course, ASEAN is very flexible. We are a flexible organization, regional organization. And I can say that because our flexibility, we can dance very beautiful among the countries by try to improving our mutual understanding on these strategic issues. And on the AI ethics guidelines, in Indonesia, our ministry have issued one of ministry circular letter on AI guidelines that also adopted the key principles that I mentioned before, and also it's aligned with the UNESCO ethical AI guidelines. And we believe that with a strong cooperation among ASEAN members, we can introduce these cooperations under the ASEAN ethical AI guidelines to other non-ASEAN members. Perhaps we will push these key principles to be adopted in the ASEAN levels. So I think we are very optimistic with this, and maybe we can represent ASEAN values. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have heard the Asian view and the regional approach. Now I would like to hear some words from the regional approach within Arab countries. So I would like to ask Mr. Abdullah Al-Ghamdi is with us, President of Saudi Data and AI Authority from Saudi Arabia. We know that you host the UNESCO Category 2 Center on AI, which was recently launched. Your mission is to advance a common regional approach in Arab countries. So I'm interested in hearing how do you see this work in progress?
First, I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to congratulate the government of Slovenia and also UNESCO for convening this gathering. And basically, this gathering reminds us of our shared responsibility to navigate safely through the complexities of AI with proper precision. So we think that the ethics and also the importance of the ethics is so crucial. And we had many gatherings and conferences over the last few months. So basically, regarding the ICARE, the International Center for Research and Ethics, for AI Research and Ethics, basically marks our achievement towards taking the lead globally in the AI ethics. And by the way, Saudi was amongst the first countries to announce the AI ethics based on the UNESCO ethics recommendations. So the ICARE was approved by the UNESCO as Category 2 Center last November. And since then, we started many activities. First, the ICARE has maybe four principles or roles. First is to encourage and support research and development in the area of AI. First, we encourage countries and societies to promote and capitalize on the potential opportunities of AI. Second, we also grow the ethics awareness and outreach through the member countries. And third, basically, we understand the challenge of talent, so we focused more on capability building. And recently, we announced the one initiative. We called it the Elevate in partnership with the Google Cloud. So the aim of this initiative is to train and educate 25,000 women from around the globe on the AI principles. And basically, we finished the first cohort 2 months ago. It was around 1,000 ladies passing the course. And last but not least is the vetting of policies, rules, regulations in the area of AI. The iCare organized recently, the last 2 weeks, awareness session on the UNESCO AI ethics RAM, the readiness assessment methodology. And it was organized with the presence of the GCC countries, 6 countries, and also with the Arab World League, around more than 20 countries from the Arab world. And the aim, as we said, is to focus more on the readiness assessment methodology. Last point, basically, we think that our position in Saudi as at the heart of the Islamic and Arab world makes our mission more sensitive and also crucial. So we focus more on the Arabic language and also large language model development in collaboration with people from around the region. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. And now a little bit of insight into the African vision, on common African vision for AI governance. Here is Mr. Daniel Nivagara, Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education from Mozambique. You are a part of UNESCO support program for the implementation of readiness assessment methodology. And you are also the part of the Southern African Development Community. So I'm interested in hearing from you, how do you observe the development of this common African vision for AI governance?
Yeah, merci beaucoup pour...
Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm delighted to be here, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to highlight our positions regarding the governance of AI. Regarding your question, I would like to say that for us, in order to have a common vision for Africa regarding the governance of AI, we first and foremost need to have a keen awareness regarding cultural diversity as it exists in Africa, because as you know, in Africa, we have a very diverse language landscape in the different countries. There are also questions regarding literacy, and we do understand that there are a lot of people who still need to learn how to use computers, and we need to work on literacy. From a cultural perspective, there are many things. There is one thing that is particularly important, and that is the question of skills development. Another element that is very important for our common vision of AI governance in Africa, to my mind, is the question of how we take into account specificities in the different countries, the specificities of the different countries. As you know, we are in Africa. Each African country has a different level of development, and that also goes together with very different needs in terms of development, specific needs for each country in terms of development. So the fundamental question that we are faced with is, if we understand AI well, we know that it can help us and has helped us grow. But the fundamental question, as I was saying, is what are the specific needs of each country, so that we may use AI at best in order to increase our development. And I think this is a key question. It will help us think and think about how we can set the best possible goals and how we can best make use of AI. I also believe that, as we have had opportunity to participate in the development of that readiness assessment methodology, we have been able to think about how ready our country was for the development of AI, and we do believe that it is key absolutely key to consider as a challenge the possibility to have, at the level of Africa, to have innovators in terms of AI innovators in Africa, from Africa, so that those may be people who will push and give momentum to the whole continent in terms of having the right pace and in order to develop AI at the level of the continent. That leads me to believe also that for us in Africa, we need to develop further mechanisms, dialogue, multidisciplinary dialogue mechanisms that can reach across cultures. We need to further promote exchanges, discussions between the government, civil society, but also together with the private sector. I believe we also must foster dialogue, international dialogue, regional dialogue, international dialogue, and also work on partnerships such as the ones encouraged by UNESCO. I think all of that will be very helpful in order to walk in the same direction as far as AI governance is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And to wrap up the first round, I would also like to ask Mr. Thomas Schneider, Ambassador and Director of International Relations, Swiss Federal Office of Communication, and Chair of the Council of Europe Committee on AI from Switzerland. We know that the Council of Europe is close to the adoption of the final, of the first binding treaty for countries in, but also beyond the EU. So can you share with us more insights on the convention and how it aims to achieve interoperability with other important frameworks, including UNESCO's recommendations?
Yes, thank you, and of course also thanks to UNESCO and the Slovenian government for organizing this. If you want our societies and economies to peacefully coexist, cooperate, and to some extent also compete, then we need rules that organize this competition and coexistence and so on. And if we look at new technologies, it's not just one legal instrument. If you look at engines, how they were governed over the past 200 years, we have hundreds of technical norms, legal norms, and also social cultural norms that guide the use of engines in different contexts, in cars, in airplanes, and so on and so forth. And it's also, they guide the users, the infrastructure relevant to the particular context with different degrees of harmonization globally. So the airline industry is much more harmonized because it's more global, whereas on a car you have different speed limits and different rules. And we probably need something similar when it comes to AI. And also there, probably to harmonize some technical standards will be easier than harmonizing social cultural norms. Probably it's not possible and also not wished to harmonize our cultures. And the legal systems will be somewhere in between, of course. And the Council of Europe, for those that are not from Europe, this is not an organ of the European Union. This is an institution with 46 member states that has competencies on human rights, democracy, and rule of law. Is focusing on these three elements and has looked at some gaps in the existing legal framework and has developed some sectoral instruments that we have heard from the Secretary General, and has decided that also a horizontal convention would be needed, which is the one that we are currently working on. It is focusing on some fundamental principles that states signatories should respect, should commit in a binding way to respect. It's not based on the European institutional system with the Court of Human Rights and so on, because it's meant to be an instrument that is acceptable to anyone, all countries that value human rights and democracy, rule of law, from all around the globe. We have had a handful states since the beginning negotiating with us. Two more handful have already joined and a number more are interested. So the goal is to contribute to this famous interoperability through agreeing on goals, principles, values, and leaving it up to the respective state and their judicial tradition, their tradition in the how to reach these goals, these objectives, how to live up to these purposes. So it's meant also as a bridge between regional systems, regional realities, knowing that, of course, AI is a global tool. So, and we hope that we have it finalized in a few weeks' time. And what is important is that it's not just inclusive in terms of countries from all over the world, but it's also inclusive in terms of around 100 civil society, business and academia institutions cooperating, looking at the text, making proposals, telling us what they would like to see. And I can only invite all countries and all stakeholders to join the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we have heard different experiences, different approaches taken within several regions. We are aware of the importance of this regional approach, but I'm also interested now in understanding, and you have also greatly pointed out this bridge and how we can now reach that these many regional frameworks actually converge towards a common vision, globally common vision, without creating actually dissonance. What would be the next steps or what are the obstacles to really converge? So I would like, we have briefly, 12 minutes left. So since this is really extend panel, for this last question or a few questions that I've given, I would like just to encourage whoever wants to step in and give some insights. So you want to continue. Yeah, so please, and then...
we can reverse the orders. I'll be very short. You need cooperation and development of norms on all levels, also on the technical field, and to see how social-cultural differences can be maybe understood and respected to the extent that they do not have negative effects on the other societies. So in order for us to peacefully coexist, dialogue and mutual understanding and respect is the first step, and then agree on norms wherever possible is probably the next one. And yeah, we are still at the beginning with all the few instruments that we have. There will be a lot more coming.
I think there are two things to look at when it comes to convergence. One is to identify the pain points, and maybe that is the next UNESCO conference. Where do we deeply disagree, and how to overcome those disagreements, because otherwise it stays at a very high level. And then the second point, and I think our colleagues both from ASEAN and from Africa here pointed to it, the digital divide. When it comes to AI, there's no implementation if you can't meaningfully use AI in your societies, in your industries, and for civil society. So this question about how to have the abilities to meaningfully harness AI, that will be key, not only to implement, but to make sure that these wonderful, I think, legislation and governance actually, in the end, benefits individual societies and democracies.
Mr. Havrda.
Thank you. We're getting to the point that we have agreed on certain norms and even on some binding ones, as the AI Act or the US executive orders. So now we're moving to the stage of enforcement, and what we need there is frank exchange, honest exchange, how enforcement is working among those who are the forerunners. So this is the first thing. Second, we will need to continually monitor the impacts, because the technology will be evolving. So we cannot kind of like stay where we are, and as Thomas is pointing, this will evolve further much. But we need to have this evidence-based, this information, this data on which to build. And thirdly, to support enforcement in other places than the forerunners. So we need to be thinking how we help the other countries who would like to enforce the rules, so to have the capacity to enforce it, and to as well make a kind of a global legal environment conducive to that.
Mr. Khov?
Yes, thank you. So I think that let me go to the point that following this today conference I have attended yesterday meeting as well, I would say that it's not a matter of the norm or neither the practice or even the governance model. I think that we all here, we seem to have enough information foundation to make consideration. I think that the way forward, we have only 2 points. The first point is that we need to work together to form as soon as we can the governance body at international level, in particular under UN umbrella for that. And with this governance body, it shall be able to have the platform for discussion among the top leader and at the platform we can present the principle and feature of the AI governance framework to our leader in order to let them endorse all those kind of principle and feature. It is very important while we have a top political commitment on that kind of thing. And the norm, the practice, and the governance model we can discuss later on, as we know that it shall be adopted, even with respect to the context of evolving of our society and as well as of the AI technology, which is the technology that evolves very fast. Another point that we shall leave the commitment to each nation in order to implement the enforcement mechanism. The efficient enforcement mechanism is very important with the aspect of ethics in AI. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Etcheverry.
Thank you. I would say two things. The first one is that we definitely need to leverage capacities. I mean, we need general minimum capacities in all countries, and that takes a lot of cooperation. But also, if we want to talk about regulatory interoperability, we need to be able to reinforce the capacities of our governments and the agencies that are in charge of enforcement. I mean, we have done it in the past with pharmaceuticals, for example, and there's mutual recognition among countries. If we have sufficient capabilities in all countries to address artificial intelligence, then we maybe could move forward into a framework like that that would allow for fast implementation worldwide, which is what this technology needs.
Perfect, thank you. And Mr. Nivagara.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. My input at this stage regarding your question is that I think in order to have a common vision at an international level, the first thing we need is to have the incentive that an international framework would build. I mean, we have the UNESCO recommendation that is one international vision that we need to accept. But then following that, I think it's very important that we should have a context-based and culture-based perspective for some norms and standards. As I was saying before, there are specificities and differences between countries. For example, in the African context, there are some specificities that make some countries unique, and we need to take those into account. However, I also believe that it's very important to have international coordination. UNESCO is playing that role to an extent, and I do believe that if we have a good coordination by UNESCO at an international level, we also will need to have regional coordination, intercontinental coordination, but also at country level, so that in this way we will be able to put that or develop that common vision. Another question or another important aspect, as far as I'm concerned, is we need to, for example, we need to have a vision that will enable us, make it possible for us to review things, if necessary, regularly, so that we may make sure that the solutions we have are suitable, are suited to the situation we're in. We need to keep up with innovation, with tech development, etc. And only thus can we build the right vision together and keep it up to date. So I think that is also a very important question. And I think really the main engine should be a common constitution of that vision regarding the development of AI. I really do believe that for us in Africa, we must have AI that is from Africa, for Africa, for example. We cannot be happy with something that is an AI that we have adopted as a technology coming from elsewhere. And this is, to me, an absolutely key question. Thank you.
Just a moment. Angeline?
Well, thank you. First of all, we are the most terrible panel ever, I think, because nobody took the 2 minutes time and we had a meeting. Yeah, you have to laugh. I also a little bit, but sorry. And you stay so calm. Thank you for that. I think our host needs a big applause for this terrible panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. So maybe that's then my message. We have to learn, and learning by doing. So 2 minutes? No, I don't have it anymore. But learning by doing, I think that's the most important message I will bring. And there is a new group, what was it called? The No Border Expert Group from UNESCO. And that's, I think a very important group to learn there, the experience and to talk about it. So my hope is also for that special group.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
My neighbor.
Just a moment, Mr. Al-Ghamdi, and then. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Just the 3 points I'd like to highlight here. In order to make sure that the regional and local, let's say, guidelines are integrable to the international, like the UNESCO one, we need first to have dialogues on different levels, first within the nation, different sectors within the nation, and then between nations within the same region, and then we might have inter-regional dialogues in order to reach to this maturity level of integrability with the international guidelines. Second thing, I think we need to have a regional champion in order to do 2 roles. First, to encourage different members or countries within the region to integrate with the international best practices, and also to do sort of preliminary vetting for the local guidelines in order to be integrable to the main one. Last point, I think, the AI is broad spectrum, so we need to focus. So my recommendation is to focus more in sector-based applications like for the biotech, for example, the environment, the healthcare, and maybe gradually expand until we reach to full maturity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Solaphom, you wanted?
So far, we have seen many policies, strategies, or guidelines at regional and the group of country association to maximize the benefit and to manage the risk and so on about AI. From my point of view, the United Nations serve as the most appropriate intergovernmental organization that can bring together those various fragmented government frameworks. In particular, the UNESCO recommendation is very comprehensive and inclusive. Therefore, it is can use as a starting point for the interoperability framework. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You wanted? No.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yes.
Still 2 minutes left. Yeah. You see that we have a different level of AI readiness in each countries, and I think by this varieties of the AI adoptions, AI understanding in each country, I think UNESCO can support the formation of subgroups. This is some recommendation from me among countries which maybe have the same or similar levels of readiness, and let them work together, utilizing the detailed recommendations tailored to each group. I think there will be some difference of recommendation among the different areas of readiness of each countries. This is the first one that I would like to add. And I second many opinions on human capital development that UNESCO can also initiate, establish this kinds of program in order to make countries that is not quite ready for AI governance to understand this one first. I think we lack of a lot of human capitals in this area as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that we have to wrap up to finish this session. So thank you very much for all the panelists, for great insights, for pointing out the steps forward, for also pointing out really concrete, specific steps that we have to take on, and it's up to us to work on it and to reach this goal of common vision of AI. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, the panelists and the moderator. You could perhaps line up here for another family photo of the panel.